Hello, everyone. This is Siddharth Das, co-founder of Univ.ai, and we're about to zip through a short session talking about AI and why we should learn AI early. All right, so let's go. So here's a quiz question. I don't know if this is very interactive and you can type or not, or speak, but feel free. Take a guess. What do you think is the average pay of a Google DeepMind AI engineer? Any answers? All right, I'll answer it. It's 750,000 US dollars, and that's average. These are somewhere between 22 and 30-year-olds earning this kind of money. The money itself is not important, but it says something about the fear because AI. So what is AI? So earlier you needed to tell a computer exactly what to do, and that's called programming, right? But AI changes that. So let's dwell for a second. What does it mean by telling a computer exactly what to do? Programming is a step-by-step algorithmic process of precisely defining how to do something, right? And which is why some like computer programming fails at so simple a task like recognizing an image. So how do you, in writing a program, give a set of instructions to a computer, going through an image dot by dot by dot, pixel by pixel by pixel, to recognize an image? Clearly, you can see that it is not like adding 1 plus 2, right? So recognizing an image is an incredibly difficult task. And so AI changes the world of computer science and programming, right? What does it do? You know that a child has a mind, and a mind can learn. And how does a child learn? So you take a child, you show them a picture of a cat, and you tell them again and again, C is for cat, and you show them a photo of a cat. C is for cat, and you show them a picture of a cat. You might even show them a real cat. And over time, a child learns. So next time, what happens? When there's a cat, and the child says cat, the child says cat, right? Rudimentary AI does precisely the same thing. We create a neural network, which is the mathematical equivalent of a brain, and we teach it almost exactly the same way that we teach a child, right? And oddly enough, we actually don't know what's going on inside this neural network, even though we have created it, right? But what happens, which is what you will learn if you actually go take a course in AI or study with us, is how this happens. But what happens, we can tell you. You take a neural network, and through the neural network, you feed what are called labeled images. So these are all different images, all of cats, and they're all called cats. Cat, 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 right? And so neural network learns. The next time you show a neural network a photo, a neural network looks at it, decides it's a cat, exactly like a child, right? But this seemingly simple thing leads to amazing consequences. And what might they be? For example, normally a doctor looks at an image, an X-ray, and says, okay, something's gone. Maybe you have a broken hand or a broken jaw. An AI can do precisely the same thing. Scan an image, find a problem, decide what it is, and tell you. An AI can detect tumors. An AI can win games against world champions. That actually a very famous game, Garry Kasparov, chess champion, being beaten by Deep Blue. Many of you might have heard of that, if any of you is into chess. Or for that matter, now everyone knows that AI can also drive cars. It's called self-driving, right? Just like robots can do something better than humans, but not everything, AI too can do some things better than humans. For example, look at hundreds and thousands of pictures very, very fast and say whether it is of a known person or not. Right? We take time to do that. So suddenly we take one activity and make it super, 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 super fast. Why is that useful? Well, you can take a very large crowd and pick somebody who's dangerous, or you can secure your perimeters and protect your home or a factory, right? Or you can go to thousands of images and say, okay, looks like it has a disease, this looks like it doesn't. So we go from telling a computer what to do to building what looks like a brain. So you think that it's a pretty big deal. I think so. But there's a catch that I just told you what an AI does. I didn't tell you how it does. And here's the magic. The builders of AI don't know how AI works, right? And to understand how AI works needs you to change the way you think about the world. Right? Our habits start freezing well before we become adults. That is why often we don't learn very much once we grow older. Languages are very difficult to learn. Difficult math is very difficult to learn. We don't learn to paint anymore in late life. Neither can we learn to ride a bicycle or swimming in late life, right? Reinventing how we think and how we learn, extremely difficult. That is why something like AI should be learned early. And what happens when you learn this early? You by the time you are in college, you're already way up the curve on everybody else, and you can probably do amazing things already. So if especially if people who are interested in the future of science ought to know AI, ought to know the foundations of AI. And people who are not are most likely going to be using AI in some form or the other, right? Starting all the way from art to music to everything you can imagine. So oddly enough, AI is something, it's just like basic math. Just as everybody learns math up until 10th grade, I think in the future, and programming is also becoming popular among a lot of people. Similarly, AI should also be learned by most people who are going to tackle the future, right? And to miss out on this would be unfortunate, which is why Future School was created, so that we can take people through the path of learning AI in a way that is unique to our institution. What have we done for that? We created an institution by bringing together college professors. The founding professors are from Harvard University and from UCLA, and we are slowly adding faculty from other well-known universities, largely around the United States, but that might change as we get bigger. So the idea is that the most committed learners, the most ambitious learners, should have an opportunity to learn from people who are creating the field as we speak, right? So let me tell you about some of the people who are there. Dr. Dave, he used to teach machine learning at Harvard, and he created futureschool.ai along with other professors. He is an amazing teacher and is a very well-known instructor at Harvard. Raghu Meka, he's a tenured professor of theoretical computer science at UCLA. He's actually trained in something called graph theory and high dimensional, sort of, what do you call it? High dimensional data. So his area of work is to look at complexity theory. Now, why is that important? That's important because usually in machine learning, you are looking at tons and tons and tons of input data that lead to some outcome, and you don't know which data leads to the outcome. What particular combination of input leads to that output? So for example, a very, very simple example is a photo. If you break up a photo into little dots, each individual dot will make no sense. Put it together and suddenly you have a picture. Now imagine if that happens to a system of equations, that there are thousands of input data and they lead to outcomes. So Raghu specializes in doing that, and he's a cutting edge scientist. There is Pavlos Protopappas. He leads the master's program in computer science and it's not computer science, sorry, machine learning and AI at Harvard. What happened? Sorry. Achyuta Kadambi is a really well-known emerging star in computer vision. And computer vision is a really attractive field because you can actually see stuff happen, right? And he has a company as well as, in addition to being a professor at UCLA. And his particular kind of specialization is not just looking, but interpreting images. So his whole entire field of research is trying to make machines see the way human beings do. And let me explain what we mean by that, right? And I think we're almost that there's so the way we teach is we have a summer school that's coming up. You can go to futureschool.ai, and we have summer school during summer, which is June 27th through and for a period of 4 weeks until sort of 25th of July. And then during the school term, there are after school programs in the evenings, right? We are very selective. So we invite applications, and there's scrutiny of your application and interview, and applications on our site. So anybody who's interested, take a look, apply, and we'll go from there. Thank you. Happy to take questions. There's a question here from Rohan. Rohan, we chatted with you earlier, didn't we? Do we teach or is it a club? No, we teach. Is it free or is it paid? It's paid. Does anyone else have any questions? I think you can speak, right? Are you guys allowed to speak? Okay. Haran, is it available for gap year students? Well, yes, but if you're a school student, then yes. Program cost is 1,20,000 for AI and 1,00,000 rupees for communication problem solving.
Okay. I think it's time. Thank you so much, Siddharth, for the very informative session. I think I can now understand why I take so much time to learn French that I've been trying to do for such a long time, but it makes a lot of sense now. All right. For any other questions that you guys might have, please visit Siddharth on the table. And I think you're going to be around for a couple more minutes, right? Around 15 to 20 more minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So I'm going to end the session. Thank you so much, Siddharth.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone, for attending.